Have you ever wondered how to be your true, authentic self at all times? Well, in today's episode, we are going to cover that in great detail. But first, before we get into that, guys, if you have any communication needs, I am Philip Sessions, your communication coach, and I can help you out with that. But today we have Kyle Slaymaker in the house. He is the man of his word. He is a former military person. He's an amazing father. Got a wife and three kids. They are just adorable when you see him on social media when he posts about them. He is his true, authentic self at all times. I've met him in person. I've talked to him online. We've been on Zoom, phone calls, text, you name it. He is always who he is, no matter what, unapologetically, if you will. And I'm just excited to finally have you on the show today, Kyle. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, first off, unapologetically is right, as your guests will certainly see, and I
Yeah.
guess here. Um, yeah, so born and raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, spent 4 years in the military. I served in the U.S. Navy on board the USS Cape St. George in support of Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. I have three kids: Jack, Brinley, and Faith. Brinley is 2, Jack is 5, and Faith is 17. So she's getting ready to fly the coop here.
Mhm.
Hopefully in about a year. I say hopefully like it's a good thing, but I'll miss her. But she's ready to go start living that adult life. So we'll see what happens. It's my biggest fear.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure.
I do run a company called the Slaymaker Method, and I named it that mainly because of my last name, and I am completely okay doing that and using my last name. I do sales strategy, sales training, and branding. Those are my fortes there: sales and branding. That's how I got my start in this world. And that's how I make my living now. So I help brands sell better. I help businesses and individuals sell as best as they possibly can, make as much money as they possibly can using a non aggressive and an ethical way of selling. So that's me in a nutshell.
Mm.
And of course,
Uh,
I put on some pretty cool events.
yeah. Oh, yeah. They are great. And we're definitely going to get into that. Before we do, I want to get into our first question that I try to always ask. I don't always ask it because I forget. We just get into it. But how did you get over the fear of public speaking?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. It's one that first off, I don't prepare anything. So just for everybody out there listening, this is not you're not talking to somebody, you're not listening to somebody that does a lot of preparation when he does interviews and appearances and stuff like that. I just kind of find I work better like that. Um, Public speaking is something that I've always wanted to do. Right, I've always had a very dynamic personality. I've always been larger than life, if you will. Um, but I didn't know there was a fear until I like get ready to go on stage. Right, even at my own events, or especially at my own events, because I'm like, man, my name and reputation are on the line. I got to do good here.
Hmm.
I get those nerves a little bit, but eventually I just kind of talk myself out of it. Like, hey, listen, you're made for this. You're putting on this event. You were asked to speak here. You were asked to speak there. You're asked to give a presentation. That's because people believe in you. And
Mm.
that's kind of how I do it. I just get up and within like maybe 15 seconds max, the nerves go away and I'm just off to the races. Sometimes
Mm.
good, sometimes bad.
Mm. I like that. That's a great way that you put that. Of course, I think a lot of us we get nervous because we think about ourselves first, which you admit it you do, but then you said it perfectly. You are there for a reason. People want you there, and that's why you are there. Even if it does happen to be your own event that you throw, you're still there for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
so, but you're there giving a message that people need to hear and people want to hear, especially if you're invited to go speak on a stage.
Yeah. I don't get it so much when I'm invited,
Hmm.
mainly because I guess I never really thought about it, Philip. I think because by that point, like the validation's already there,
Hmm.
right? The validation is, oh, these people already believe in you because they either paid you to be on stage or they asked you to come speak at their event. So they believe in your message. They know you have a story to tell. They know I have a message to share. Um, so I don't really get it as much doing other people's events, but I definitely get it on mine. At least I
Yeah.
did, and I know I'm going to get it on in October too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said, like your name is kind of on the line there. I mean, it is when you go speak on another stage, but it's just a whole nother level because now it's not only you literally speaking and are you going to flop or are you going to do well, but it's also your whole event. So if the whole
Yeah.
thing sucks, then well, that's really on you at that point too, which makes that even harder. And I've been right there. I know exactly what you mean. My first event had 7 people. I learned so much from it. It still turned out to be really awesome, but it was still 7 people. So it was great in one side because hey, it wasn't at least just me.
Yeah.
But still, it was not great because but I learned from it, and that was the bigger part that I learned from it, and people still got value out of it. It would have hurt really bad if people were like afterwards. I didn't really hear much. Like, oh yeah, yeah, it was cool. Like the basics. Like I'm not gonna say anything rude to you, kind of thing. But no, people
Yeah.
seem to genuinely enjoy it and everything. So that was still cool from that aspect. But let's dive into that a little bit. I know you had this event already last year, and I had the honor of being able to speak on that stage. And then you're doing one this year. Actually, as our recording is 6 months out from the next event, which you invited me again, which I am totally honored and super excited about. But how has that process been to be able to get on stage? Or sorry, build the stage rather than just getting on it.
Yeah, great question. So I have this motto, I guess you can call it a motto or maybe just a mindset that if something scares me and something seems really big, I just automatically go for it.
Mm,
And that was really the mindset behind starting my own thing. Um, I was very nervous. I was wondering, it was my first event. We had a great venue at a great price. And I was very, very nervous leading up to it because it was my first time, right? It was my first time throwing an event like that. It was my first time getting speakers together. It was my first time speaking on a bigger stage like that. And I was terrified that nobody was going to show up. Now, granted, I say that with a caveat. If there would have just been one person in the crowd, I'd have been devastated because as entrepreneurs, we're very hard on ourselves.
mhm.
But there is no true failure. You either win or you learn. And that sounds cliche a little bit, and maybe it is. Maybe it's a little woo 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 mindset, but it really is the truth. Now, I got very, very, very fortunate, and we had a great crowd. I think we had like somewhere between 60, 70 people, maybe 80 or 90 with virtual. Um, and it was mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Uh, so by the time it was time for me to hit the stage, I was high on adrenaline, ready to go, and I just hit the ground running. But like I said, those nerves for the first 15 to 30 seconds were up there, and then I just went.
Yeah, and that stage was awesome. The venue was awesome. All the speakers were really good. And I know you and Nell kind of did that one together, and this one's kind of
Yep.
more on you this time, but y'all both did an amazing job with that event and everything. And I really enjoyed it, especially for a first one. I was super impressed, especially adding that on top of it. And you would have never guessed that that was a first event because y'all
Thank
really
you.
went over the top. And with sponsors. I mean, you had everything there. This great speakers, great sponsors. The audience was engaged with you. You could really tell that you built out this brand around you and this personal brand, not just a brand, but a personal brand and a really a following, a tribe almost within your local area, being Central PA. And it was just amazing to see. And that was a lesson learned for me as well. And I kind of learned it with my event that okay, I don't have a great local network. And I thought, oh, my online network is gonna be great. And while it is still great, and obviously that's where we met at, they didn't really come through for me locally. And it's understandable. We're just online friends, but having that local network is so important. And then it just kind of doubled down that understanding for me that yes, it is important when I saw how you had built such a local brand and established yourself locally compared to what I had done and everything. And so it's just so important. And so speak on that a little bit before we really get into being our
Yeah.
true authentic self.
So I mean, I didn't realize the importance. I didn't realize what I was building as I was building it.
Mhm.
Um, I was just kind of hoping. I was just doing what I knew best, and that was to be really out there, really loud on social media, being everywhere that I could. And we had that discussion with a friend of ours in the Slack channel that we're in, and he said, "You know, that's how I found you." because 2 years ago I saw you. You were everywhere. You were talking to everybody. You were commenting on everything. You were posting everywhere. And, I kind of fell away from that for a little bit. And it was that harsh realization like, wait a minute, that's what I have to do again. I've got to get back out there. I got to be really bold, really boisterous, and really build that network. And I was very, very, very fortunate. I can't wait for the second one.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be awesome, and I know you're gonna really up your game, especially after that conversation we had within there. And I mean, you're gonna come out, guns blazing, or maybe not guns. I know PA is not really a fan
Oh,
of
yeah.
guns,
Yeah.
so
One
we'll,
of our
we'll say.
speakers got a Facebook ban the day of the event, didn't they?
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, we're talking about dropping bombs, and yeah, so that's always fun. Luckily, so
Oh,
far I've only heard of like one or two podcasts that have been censored, so hopefully I won't get censored for saying that
oh,
because
that was,
I'm
I
not
couldn't
really
believe
really
it.
mean that.
That was so great. You pull up and you're like, I just got a Facebook ban. It's like, oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes, no tagging me for a whole day. It was awesome for sure. But so obviously you built this local brand, and I think a lot of us we worry about that. We may post on social media, we may be not as afraid because there's that barrier between us. That
Mhm.
okay, I'm on my phone, somebody else is just going to see me on my phone. I don't have the judgment or immediate judgment. And we all know that there's haters online, but when you're in person, that just hurts so much more. And especially you having built a great personal brand and obviously been out in public and really unapologetically yourself, unapologetically, branding yourself, doing sales, which of course we could talk about how that's all sleazy things sometimes people think about. But how do you go about just promoting yourself and not really caring about what people think?
So that question gets asked to me a lot because I'm very open on social media. I've been open with my struggles in alcohol addiction. I've been open about losing my little brother. Um, it's it's weird. I used to be very worrisome if somebody would see something and take it the wrong way, and tell me to what and all that other stuff. But something big started happening to me when I started making those vulnerable posts. And that's when I would get messages from people that I didn't even know followed me, that I didn't even know read my stuff. And they're like, oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. Thank you so much for speaking about it. It's so nice to see that I'm not the only one. And stuff like that. And that was really powerful for me. That was kind of an eye opening moment that it was like, you know what? If somebody's going to hate on me for going through alcoholism, or somebody's going to hate on me because I went into a depression after my brother passed away, or anything like that, if somebody's worried about my past, whatever, it doesn't matter. They don't matter. Their opinions don't matter. And they don't matter because there's people out there that see the stuff that I post, that see the stuff that other vulnerable people post, and they're impacted by it positively. So I'll take 5,000 haters on one post if I get just one comment or one message that says, hey, thank you for posting that. I needed to see that. That's all I
Mm.
care about.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100% there. And whenever you're more open and I don't like using the word vulnerable, but I mean it is truly vulnerable. It just
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's overused now, but just being there and just laying it all out for, really everything's just out there in the open, it's exposed versus maybe you hold back a little bit. Have you noticed a difference in relationships with people or engagement on social media or things like that?
Clarify a difference in relationship.
I mean, I guess sometimes whenever you talk about the struggles you've been through, that people kind of bond over that, and it might be
Mhm,
kind of a weird thing. But I mean, let's just take alcoholism, for instance, or
mhm.
I think about like whenever my dad passed away. Like, of course, I hate that it sucks, but because of my dad passing away, I've been able to at least be able to talk with other people more about it and not just be like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm sure that's hard." It's like I know how hard it is and I can talk about that in a
Yeah.
different manner. And so because of that, it's like it's not really a true bond, but it's like you connect with somebody more because of that. So that's what I'm asking
Yeah.
when I ask that.
Yeah, so two things. One, when I I've mentioned struggling with drinking before.
Mhm.
And it got, not that this is why I posted it, but it got decent engagement and there was some support there. But when I got my 30-day chip, when I was sober for 30 days, my first 30 days, um, a lot of people, I think it got like 500 reactions, 300 comments. I was getting private messages left and right. Oh my gosh, I'm in the program. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. I'm struggling. Sometimes I relapse. I do this, including people that, I'll keep them nameless, but are of more well-known stature. We'll put it that
Mm,
way, like very, very well-known people that I had no
mm.
idea I'd even cross paths with ever. Have reached out like, "Hey, man, I'm really proud of you. I struggled too. I know how hard it is." So and I think it is a bond. I think how you described it is a great way, a bond connection. So that stuff's really important. But one of the most impactful things for me was a former client of mine when I did my video on YouTube last year or 2 years ago now, I can't remember which, about my little brother. It was a 45-minute video where I detailed the entire experience from what happened to being in the hospital while he was passing, everything. Um, and something I said in there was that, I have all these people coming up saying, oh, he's in a better place. He's in a better place. I didn't want to hear that.
Mm.
Right. And it doesn't matter. I'm not going down a religious route or anything. It's just at that time, that better place I felt was on earth with us, where he could see his niece that he never got to meet, where he could see his son that he never got to meet. That's the better place.
Yeah.
And my former client, and we had parted ways where our contract came to an end. She did awesome. She went on to do awesome things. She reached out and she was like, when my mom passed, that's exactly how I felt. And like nobody understood it. She's like, I'm so glad to see that you understand it, and that's one of those things that that's why I post the way that I do. That's why I have no problem, we'll call it, I don't want to say standing in a glass closet, but um, I'm an open book. And
Yeah.
and that's why I'm an open book, because I want to impact people, because if one person can be impacted by my struggle, then I'm fine talking about it.
Mm. And was there a time that you didn't, act this way, like you weren't an open book at some point in your life?
Oh gosh, yes. Um I mean, before I started my company, the Slaymaker Method, I mean, my social media was all about politics. It was all about politics. I wasn't talking about my struggles. I wasn't talking about my drinking. I wasn't talking about anything. It was just politics, 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 politics. It sucked the life out of me. And I got involved in politics. I helped rebuild the Veterans Caucus for the state Democratic committee. I was meeting John Fetterman, who's now our senator. I was working hand in hand with him. I ate dinner right near the governor, all this other crap. Um, and I put on this facade that I was just doing these great big things and nothing was wrong, nothing was going on. And I felt like a shell.
Mm.
And with people that they get involved in politics, they usually just end up hating everybody anyway. And that's not how I wanted to live.
Yeah, so what was that catalyst to make you change? I feel like there's people out there that maybe they're not that shell, they're not that far down, but perhaps they share maybe 90% of the truth, and they leave out some of these things that they're just afraid of that judgment. So what was that catalyst for you to finally make that shift?
So there were two catalysts. One was when I started my business. I made a decision. Interestingly enough, I watched some Michael Jordan interview or some Michael Jordan documentary. I can't remember what it was. And Jordan was asked why he doesn't get political, and because he's got left leaning beliefs. Um, and Michael Jordan's response was, because Republicans buy shoes too. And I was like, oh, I got it. Genius. It makes sense now, right? Um, and that really got me to go down this path where I don't really try to alienate people. And I
Mhm.
don't want to alienate people. I don't want my Facebook becoming a cesspool for just argument and debate and dumpster fires of threads. But I was asked to tell the story of the greatest sale I ever made at coincidentally enough, another coach's seminar here in Central PA. And I made a post about, you know, struggling with drinking, struggling with my brother passing, but working through it. And now I'm here speaking in front of whatever amount of people it was. And it got huge engagement at the time, something like 200 reactions, 100 comments, something like that. And that's when those messages started pouring. And that's when I saw just how much support I had. That's when I saw just how much impact that my words actually had to people. And that's when
Mm.
I made the decision to start being as vulnerable and open as I possibly can.
Man, yeah, and that's so true. I've noticed the more that I am that way as well, and just talk about the struggle, the more that I get that engagement. And I made a post recently, and it was quite a bit of engagement. I'd say probably like 50, 60 comments at least, if not a little bit more than that. But I talked about how, yeah, the entrepreneurship. Most people act like it's this whole like highlight reel. It's just amazing, but really, it's a lonely road. And the nice thing is, like with our group that we're a part of, the syndicate that you started and everything, we do have those people to lean on. But for a lot of people, they don't, and they feel like they're in entrepreneurship alone. But if you're open about things and you're just letting it all out there, you'll notice that other people are, hey, I'm in the same boat, or hey, I was just there last week. I had a couple people say that, like, that was me 2 weeks ago. So it's
Yeah,
like, man, this is crazy. But that's the hills and valleys of entrepreneurship at the end of the
it
day,
is.
or the
When
peaks and valleys.
when I have brand new entrepreneurs as consulting clients, coaching clients, and I've told Nell this. Nell, I had nothing but great things to say about. She helped me greatly with the last event. She was an awesome partner to have, and I consider her a good friend. But entrepreneurships or entrepreneurs are some of the most popular lonely people you'll meet
Yeah.
because so many people sit there and they see, it's like that cliche meme where you got the tip of the iceberg up top and it's the success and the glitz and glamour and all that other stuff. But down below, it's the hard work, it's the stress, it's the sacrifice, the sleepless nights, the less time with your family, the lower life expectancy. Um, and it, unless you're dealing with other entrepreneurs, it's very hard to get people to understand. And that's
Yeah.
not anything negative against them. It's just something that they can't comprehend because they're not going through it or haven't gone through it. But yeah, we're the most popular lonely people you can find.
Man,
As
that's
sad as that is.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to put it, because yeah, it does look, especially online with social media now, we see all that, and you see the glitz and the glam, and that's what most people will talk about. But we have to talk about that other side, and not so much to be negative, or just to be able to whine or anything like that, but to be able to show that side, and then let people know. Because when you are that person that puts things out there and puts, I would say, 99% of things. There are some like very personal things we don't need to hear about, like your bowel movements or something like that. So let's go with 99% of the time, being honest, especially on social media. But that is how we connect, because that's what makes you human.
Yeah.
Just sharing wins, and you should share wins. And I know you've made a post about this. We've talked about this. Definitely share wins. But if that's all you're sharing, then people aren't going to be able to connect with you, because that's life. Not everybody wins in life.
Yeah.
Most of the time we don't win. So, but if that's all that you share is win after win after win, then it's like, well, what's going on? Then even if you are winning a lot, people are going to think like, this guy or this girl must be fake. So you
Yeah.
have to share, and not necessarily sharing losses, but just sharing, just things that aren't just win, win, win. Oh, I've got this great thing going on or whatever
Well,
as
even
well. I think helps.
even yeah, that's another important thing, Philip, is even if you're vulnerable, even if you're open, you mentioned earlier, you're always going to have haters. I'm always going to have people that will be like, "Oh, there's no way that's actually real." I knew him back in the day. He was a jerk, and I was. Heck, even this last year, I lost my way significantly because I wasn't living by my core values. I was letting my addictions control everything, and a lot of people would sit there and be like, "Oh, he's fake. Oh, he's too loud. He's this. He's that. He's not doing this. He's not doing that," and that's fine. Somebody can sit there and say whatever they want. I don't care. I
Hmm.
really, really don't care. It may rub me the wrong way. It may make me question if I'm going to hang out with you. It may make me question if I'm going to do business with you. But at the end of the day, again, You share those wins, but share those struggles too. Let people know you are real. You do go through stuff. My life's not all sunshine and roses. Nowhere near it. Believe me, I wish it was, but it is not.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. We have to share both sides of that because that's truly how we connect. Now, there's a story, and this was really the first story you shared with me, and this may be the stage you were talking about just a second ago. But I really want you to share that story about that lady that she had lost her husband and she was trying to
Ah,
get a car. I really want you to share that story because I think that's a beautiful story, especially when we talk about sales, because we think sleazy salespeople, and this
yeah.
being a car salesperson, it's even worse in
Oh
that
yeah.
case.
It's horrible.
But share the stories. I think this is a great story for people to be able to be more open and authentic and understand the power behind that.
Yeah. So I get asked to tell this story quite frequently because it is such an impactful story and it does have such a good lesson. I was working at a car dealership. It was my very first job in sales, and this is pretty early on in my time there. I was selling like I was trained to sell, and like I saw some people selling, and some people they weren't overly sleazy. They were just salespeople, right? They didn't know any better. That was their preferred style, and there was nothing wrong with that. But one day, I heard the door open to the dealership, which means an up was walking in, and up is a customer, a prospect. And it was this little old lady with a cane, and behind her was an older couple, probably in their early 60s, mid 60s. I don't know. I'm terrible with age. Um, and she sat down. I was going through the routine questions. What are you looking for in a car? What brings you out today? I'm looking to buy a car. What do you mean what brings me out today? Right? Who goes to a car dealership looking for a watermelon, right?
Yeah.
Um, and every time I was asking her a question, the old lady was getting like her responses were getting quieter and quieter, and she was kind of like dipping her voice down, and I could tell she was upset. And I was confused. I wasn't I wasn't trying. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Um, so I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I want to ask you a question." I said, "I don't really get too many people in this mood in here. Is everything okay?" And she said, "Well, to be honest, I don't really want to be buying a car." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, if you don't want to be buying a car, why are you, why are you in the dealership?" And she said, "Well, my husband passed away 2 weeks ago and he totaled our only car in the accident."
Mm.
And she's bawling at this point, and the couple behind her was her daughter and her son-in-law, and they're crying too. Clearly this guy was very loved. It was an unexpected death. Um, and I was like, "Whoa." Right? They didn't prepare me for this in sales training, that's for sure, right? Um, and I said, "Tell you what, I'm going to be right back." I said, "You're sure this is the car you want?" And she goes, "Yes." And I said, "Look, it's routine for me to ask if you want to take a test drive, but something says you don't want to take a test drive tonight." And she says, "No, I don't." I said, "Okay, give me a second." So I walk back into my sales manager's office, Brian, and I say, "I need you to blow this out for me." He was like, "What?" And when you blow a car out, it's when you sell it for cost. You don't make a penny on it. And I said, I just I just need you to blow this out. I got to get back out there to her. Please just trust me." He's like, "All right." So he blows the car out. I go out. I have the deal sheet turned over so she can't see it. And I said, "Ma'am, listen, before I turn this over, I don't think you really want to be going back and forth doing a harsh negotiation." And I said, "Honestly, I desperately wish that you were buying a car from me under any other circumstance. I'm so sorry that you're in here." And I've never thought I'd say that ever. And I said, "But I'm not going to rake you over the coals. I'm not going to go back and forth in negotiation." I went back to my sales manager. We took, I don't know, something like 10 grand off the car or something like that. And I said, We're selling it at cost to you. Nobody's looking to make money off of you. I just want to make sure you're taken care of and this is as stress free for you as possible." And the three of them just lose it, just bawling.
Mm.
She's like, "Oh, I'll take the car. Thank you so much." Um, so she signs the deal sheet. We've scheduled delivery. They get up and walk out. I walk them to the door of the dealership. I turn back around. About 10 feet later, I hear the door open again. And I turn around and it's the daughter and son in law. And I said, "Oh, did you forget something?" And they said, "No." Um, Kyle, we've never seen anybody treat our mom this way ever, ever, not just in sales, but ever. We would like to get the exact same car at the highest trim level, and we want to pay full price, no discount. And I was
Mm.
like, what? And I was like, you please, you don't have to do that. That's not why I did this. I just wanted to make sure I did right by your mom during this difficult time for your family. And they said, no, we really want to buy this car full trim, fully loaded, full price. Still a salesman. You didn't have to tell me twice. At that
Yeah.
point, absolutely. Let's get it scheduled for delivery. Pick a color. We're gonna do this. Um, but it was such an aha moment for me because at that moment I realized that I didn't have to be like every other salesperson. I didn't have to be like every other cliche car salesman. I realized that everybody, no matter what they're purchasing, whether it's a car, whether it's a home, whether it's a Twix, it doesn't matter. Everybody's buying for an emotional need, an emotional connection, right? And it's that need behind the need. It's not just, I'm going to buy this candy bar because I'm hungry. It's going to be, I'm buying this candy bar because I'm hungry. And if I'm full, I'm going to be in a much better mood when I get home and I'm going to have more fun with my kids, right? And that sounds like it's a little crazy, but it's not because there is an emotional, deep connection between every purchase and the prospect. And that was when my entire career changed. Entire career.
Mm. Man, I just love that story. It is such a great story and just goes to show the power of being human and realizing that somebody is struggling at this moment and having that sympathy and empathy upon them and being there to support them. And yes, you still did have to sell in the car. Obviously, there was a cost, and even if you would have just discounted it some, I think that still would have been honorable, but you just said no, we're going to go above and beyond here, which really translates to any part of life, business, personal life, that if you go above and beyond and do the right thing, it's always going to come back to you. And it may not be as
Yes.
quick as it happened in your story, but it will
Uh,
come back to you eventually.
no, I got very lucky.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, the lesson is what was there, right? Like I
Hmm.
just I wouldn't have felt right doing anything other than or handling it in any other way than how I did. Um, but I'm no longer in sales to make as much money off of everybody as possible. I'm in sales because I want to help people. I want more people to sell the way I taught myself to sell all those years ago because that's what makes people happy. If I can make you an extra million to $3 million a year selling that way, wouldn't you want to do it? A
Yeah.
way that could make you lay your head down at night and go, "Wow, I really helped people today. I really, really helped people today." And I got to make money doing it. I got to put food on my family's dinner table because I sold ethically. I wasn't aggressive. I just did the right thing. And it's such a lost art anymore. I can't tell you how many salespeople and business owners I see today, Philip, still selling the aggressive way. And
Yeah.
it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, or in the
Like
groups
the
we're a part of, man, it's just like they sell a basic service and they want to charge like so much money for it.
Mhm.
Come on, I mean, I know you got to make money. I understand you've learned some stuff. It is valuable, your time's valuable, all that stuff. But seriously, sometimes I mean, you're just trying to rake people over the coals just because apparently people are paying that. And uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good for them, I guess. I just can't believe they're charging those kind of prices
I
for
have a
things.
very and you can ask anybody that's worked with me. I have a very, very strict guideline that I do with my pricing. If somebody genuinely wants to work with me, if they genuinely want to work with me and I know they're going to do the work, I know they're going to sell the way that I'm going to teach them, I know that they're going to want to sell the way that I teach them, I'll make it work one way or another.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean if my service is 5 grand a month and you can pay 5 grand a month, that doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, give me $100 a month,
Yeah.
right? I'm still going to get paid what I'm worth,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to not help somebody out. I refuse. I
Yeah.
absolutely refuse.
Yeah, and you definitely do that. I know we've had lots of conversations and it kind of went back and forth on things and everything. So it's just you definitely do live that out. And I want to ask real quick, just I mean, if there's anything that maybe we haven't covered here, real quick, when it comes to just being your true self, just putting it all out there, what would you share with somebody right now?
As far as like convincing them to be their true and authentic self,
Yeah,
or as far
yeah, just yeah, something to kind of just get them over that edge because I think that story is beautiful. It shows that you should just be yourself. Things are going to work out
yeah.
and everything, but maybe they're still kind of on the edge, like, I'm not sure. Just there's going to be judgment, all this stuff. What's that one thing you think you could give?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, you're still gonna have your family and you're still gonna have your friends. If they're really truly your friends, if they're your family truly loves you, you're still gonna have them if you make a post saying, "Hey, I struggle with alcoholism. I struggle with drug addiction. I struggle with sex addiction. I struggle with loss. I struggle with depression, mental health." If they're good people in your life, they're still gonna be in your life. And if not, you don't need them in your life. You can cut them out by you being open and honest. That's the best way to cut somebody out. If you're open and honest and they get pissed off, well, sorry. If they get upset and don't talk to you or run their mouth, what did you do wrong? Right?
Yeah.
You can't fail if you know that at the end of the day you're still going to go back and have your family's love and you're still going to have friends. You can't fail. Whether it's trying something new or being vulnerable, you cannot fail. And I'm
Mm,
telling you, when you get that first message from somebody because you posted something vulnerable and something that makes you really open and peel back the curtain that says, "Hey, thank you. I needed to hear that." No greater feeling. You're going to realize it was all worth it. All worth it because you don't know who you're going to impact and you don't know who reads your stuff.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've had so many people reach out just in general saying, "Hey, I really appreciate all the content you put out," and I never see them like it, comment, anything
Yep.
like that. And all of a sudden they're talking to me, or they're all of a sudden connecting me with somebody, which is just crazy. But then when I do have those extra vulnerable posts, if you will, that people will reach out, and it just feels awesome. It's
It
like
does.
I wanted to make sure that you knew it was okay to feel like this or to be in this situation and that you are going to get through it. It is going to get better, just may suck in the moment. And it's awesome to be able to see that and get that feedback from people.
It is. It's one of the most amazing, if not the most amazing feelings when it comes to being somebody who's making a positive impact in the world. And you know what? It's there's a lot of people out there that might be struggling with, oh, am I a good person? Look, we all make mistakes. I've made more mistakes than I care to admit, some more than I care to share. Um, that's going to continue. People are always going to make mistakes. Sometimes we're going to make the wrong choice. We're going to let our judgments get clouded. And, taking responsibility for those actions and those words is one thing, but that doesn't mean you can't still make a positive impact on the world. It doesn't mean that I'm not a good person. I may not feel like a good person sometimes. I may have a lot of regret that I'm wrestling with, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person, right? Think of it like your kids. Okay. So let's say you have a child who's, I don't know, he gets into a fight at school and he's 6 years old, 7 years old, right? Well, that doesn't mean he's a bad kid. That doesn't mean he can't still make a positive impact on your day. It just means that something happened. He made the wrong choice. Maybe I'm just generalizing.
Hmm.
Um, But why can't we live like that as adults? Why can't we say, "Hey, you know what? This person has a fault. I understand. I accept that fault for what it is, but I also know this person's out there trying to do a ton of good. So don't let anything get to you. Don't. Just be real. Always be real."
Yeah, yeah, and don't let one bad situation make you think differently of somebody or even of yourself too. I think a lot of times we
Oh
think
yeah.
about that. We failed, we didn't do something right, we hurt somebody's feelings. Now we're a failure. Oh, we're a bad person.
Yep.
No, no, not at all.
As entrepreneurs, I'm telling you, as entrepreneurs, there's nobody more hard on ourselves than entrepreneurs. I mean, holy Lord. I'm brutal on myself. I During my intake session for my therapist, she was like, "Wow, you're really hard on yourself." That was during the intake. That was like when she was asking insurance questions and stuff I struggle with.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't even a real session. It was just like regular questions to get to know me and figure out the situation. And like halfway through, she's like, "Wow, you are really hard on yourself." I was
Mm.
like, "Oh, if you're telling me that during an intake session, you're probably right."
Yeah, that's pretty bad if on the intake session she's saying that.
Yeah, it's like that scene from Office Space where he goes to the therapist, and then like in the middle of his sentence, the therapist just goes, "Oh man, that's messed up."
Yeah. Oh man, good old office. Well, Kyle, man, let me get to the last question here that I always like to ask,
Yeah.
and I've appreciated this interview so far. It's been really great. So I know a lot of people have gotten value out of that, and I hope that it's spurred them to be and the catalyst for them to be able to actually go out there and be their true, authentic self. But I want to ask you, if you could only share one message for the rest of your life, what would that message be?
Ooh, deep question, Philip. Deep question.
Of course, that's how I do it.
Um, accept your faults and celebrate your strengths.
Mm.
There we go. Hopefully I was deep enough for your deep question.
Yeah, no, I like that. I want you to explain that a little bit more. I'm going to put you on the spot again. Explain
Yeah,
that a little
yeah.
bit
Well,
more
I mean,
because I like
there's
that.
tons of stuff. I've got a temper. Everybody knows it. I've got the mouth of a sailor because I was a sailor. But the decisions that I have made in my life have led me to where I am today. And I often get asked, if you could go back and change your life, would you? No, no, I wouldn't. And I've been through a lot of stuff from being sexually assaulted when I was a teenager to losing my brother, my struggles with addictions, everything. But you know what? I've got a pretty good life. I've got traits of mine that I know I'm strong at. I know I can sell. I know I want to help people. I know I want to make people laugh. I know I want to be there for my kids. Those are the things I celebrate. I don't sit and wallow in self pity and say, "Oh my gosh, this happened to me. How, woe is me, woe is me." No, it's more of how am I going to make an impact today? How am I going to
Mm,
help people today? Am I going to do it by helping other business owners? Or am I going to do it just by teaching my son how to be a good person? Even if I may not have been a good person that day, or I may not feel like I've been a good person that day.
yeah. Man, and you have a heart of gold. You have a big heart, one of the biggest hearts that I've seen from people, and I really appreciate you and all that you do. I mean, you are always just yourself, and I really admire and respect that about you, brother. I really appreciate
That's the
that.
best person to be is yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You're 100% right there. No matter who you are, how you are, be yourself because there are people that will love you, and then like you said a couple times, there's gonna be people that hate you. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Eh, yeah. Doesn't matter how great, how kind, how smart, how good looking you are, whatever. People are gonna hate you. So
As I'm
just
looking at the screen, I can see the scar from my water skiing accident. I was water skiing drunk like quite a few years ago, and I was skiing great, right? Then the alcohol hit. I ended up falling in front of the skis, and the ski smacked me in the head. You can even see it on camera. I
mm,
didn't realize it was still that noticeable. So
mm.
see, there we go. That's something I regret, but hey, I own it.
Yeah, that you kind of have to, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, well, Kyle, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this information with us. I think it's valuable for us to be able to move forward, to be able to be our true selves, and it's an important thing that we all need to do because that's how we truly connect with people, and that's how we can help more people is by being our true selves. But if people want to see that example, get to know you more, and follow you, where's the best place for them to reach out?
Oh man, this part's gonna take a while. Um, so you can find me first off social media. I am most active on Facebook more than anything. You can just search Kyle Slaymaker. I'm the guy with a little blue check by his name. Yes, I paid for it. I have no problem admitting that. Just because I've had some copycat accounts out there, and there's a bunch of Kyle Slaymakers out there. So if you search Kyle Slaymaker, you see the blue check, that's me. Or you can just go to facebook.com/kyle.slaymaker.54. That's how many are out there. Um, I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram as the Slaymaker Method. I don't really use those mediums too much. You can go to my website, www.theslaymakermethod.com. You can call me or text me at 717-823-9029. That's how open I am. I give my personal number out on every podcast. Um, and then, of course, if you want to see me live and in person and see the great Philip Sessions live and in person,
Woo!
October 20th, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, at the renowned Mickey's Black Box. It is a huge, massively well done venue. We were going to be there for the second annual Slaymaker Success Summit. We've got 13 speakers, including Sammy Knight, my wife, Miss Elizabeth, Kate Shipman, Philip Sessions, Jeremy Schreifels, Justin Nelson. We've got a ton of speakers out there that day. We've got general admission tickets, VIP tickets ready to go. So that is where you can find me.
Nice. Well, man, y'all go check Kyle out for sure. He's doing a lot of great things, always posting tons of great content, especially on sales and branding. I know we didn't get into that too much, but I
That's
really
all
wanted to
right.
bring him on and talk about something a little bit different that he is also great at, which really goes back into your sales and branding. But guys, make sure that you go follow Kyle and myself and rate and review the podcast so we can continue to grow this message and continue to bring on great and amazing guests like Kyle himself.